Let's try this a second time. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. And I almost for a moment I'm gonna go near the Starlink. I'm just gonna go over here, and we lost connection, which is unbelievable. Unless hey, okay, you drone white supremacist, knock it off. Quit cutting off my Wi-Fi. So welcome to Wellness Wednesday. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. When you look up that way is Sixikai, Kainai, Abutsapikani, and then this way is 1.5 million acres of Skapipikani. So I'll just stand here for a minute. This is that's the Starlink, to make sure that we don't lose connection. So welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Nistu Makoyo Sukoyi, Nistu Skapipikani. I have one parent that's still alive, Euskiptadaki, Yellow Flower Woman. She lives in Browning by the hospital. A lot of our elders live there, in a gated community, and they're very protected. We really protect our elders on the Blackfeet Reservation. My father, 2002, Dad succumbed to lung cancer. He'd only had one lung left from boarding school. He went to Mission Boarding School on the south side of our reservation and got tuberculosis. And he was a teenager, and they sent him to Susan TB sanitarium. And because of the brutal things that they did to him in boarding school, he was born in 1936, he ran away and his lung died. And Dad, he's so resilient, I swear. He could break horses. One time, my brother Ira and I were on foot, and the horses cut out on Big Badger, and Dad said, cut him off, and we're both athletes at the time. And we were running as fast as we can to head him off, and Dad was running the other way. And I remember I just told Ira, Yellow Paint Buffalo is his new name. His baby name was Sinapa. I think that's why the Sinapa is hanging around here. Anyway, we were watching Dad lickety split, they call it, lickety split across that flat, heading towards that horse, and we cut it off. And I just said to my brother, look at Dad. He only has one lung, and he's outrunning us, because that's the resiliency that some Indian men have, Blackfoot men, an Indian relay, Blackfoot men that are like Wiles, that bull rides, bronc riders. Swift Current was that way with bulls, boy, he could ride anything. And, I hear the stories of when he had to move fast and kill mountain lions and stuff like that. So we saw our dad and we caught that horse. It was a quarter horse, and it was a fast horse, but we were able to kind of, make the signs like this, and we got it back home and into the corral area. And it was fun. The horse was smiling. We were smiling. That's when Indians chase horses, there's something exciting about it. It's something like, when we were chasing buffalo, or we're chasing buffalo off the Pastaskan, we call it our grocery store. We took them to the cliffs, and we'd have these garrows, would make these, they were like highways to the end of the cliff. They were made out of stone, and we had buffalo runners. And buffalo runners same thing like my brother and I were doing with the horse. They would run along the side, and so they would just bring them down that highway of those stones. And when they're running in a herd, or there's many of them, they don't stop for stop signs. They don't stop for yield signs. they just run off the cliff. And in running off the cliff, some of them die at the bottom. And that's where all the women with sharp knives and the LGBTQ spirit are down there with sharp knives. And they like it to be quick because some of them will just snap their neck and die quick. But then some will be alive, so they'll go over and slit their throat because it's the grocery store. And right there, they butcher them, they quarter them, they take out, and we ate everything. Saputsis, we loved, I love tripe. Ooh, I love guts. And, I've shared stories with you, like Leroy Skunk Cap, one of my, I'm just going to share stories of healing today. Storytelling is a gift. And I heard this one from Leroy Skunk Cap, and I've said it before, but I'm share it with you. And I hope my sister Sandra Many Feathers, I really miss you and Hannah right now. I spent a lot of time with some Blackfoot sisterhood, and I miss Andrea Fox, and I miss Karen Pheasant. I could go on and on. I miss Deb Pace. I haven't seen her lately. I miss all of the Blackfoot women that I was with. The Blackfoot men too. I miss them, but I miss the sisterhood. So, Leroy Skunk Cap. And he used to have a wagon race. There was Indian Relay, but his wagon race was in the 1900s and 1920 on the Blackfeet Reservation. They would have this race, and it was in a circle track, this race. And they would have a wagon with a buckboard and horses, and they'd have 3 Amskapi Piikani women. And they'd have teepee poles, and they'd have a lodge. We call teepees lodges. And these 3 Skapi Piikani women, they would race around the track, and then in terms of where all the spectators are, those 3 women had to jump off that wagon, but they also had to have a dog that obeyed and stayed on the buckboard. So I was thinking about Dee Hoyt, anyway, there was a lot of, one man would, be leading the team, and they'd run around the track, and then those 3 women had to jump off, and those 3 women had to take all the teepee poles, and sometimes it only looks like it was 12 feet in diameter. They put that lodge up. And they had to hold it down with stones, like big stones. And that's what they call teepee rings right now in our area. And all of the plains, you can tell they lived there in the archaeological finds because you find that circle of teepee rings. So anyway, that's Leroy Skunk Cap. He brought back that race into the Blackfoot Reservation. It would be at North American Indian Days. He was trying to bring it to other areas. I think he brought it to Fort Hall. But his story, and it has to do with this tenacity or this resilience of Eni, a buffalo. And they call it crow gut. Okay, so crow, Abselaga, people of the big beak bird. It's not crows, it's eagles, but they don't tell you that. Abselaga. And Akparadia is how they say creator. I love when they pray. Sharon Paragoy, Ada Benz. I love going to their Sundance, and when they're begging creator. Akparadia. Mr. Hugs. Right now he's always saying Akparadia. And these are all sober people. It's different when a drunk prays. You know how drunks pray. Oh, get me out of this jail. Oh, here I am again. I can't pay my rent. That's how drunks pray to Akparadia. But Akparadia, so the story of Leroy Skunk Cap. And I just ask you, please listen to your elders' stories. So the way that he described it, it was the time when all of the buffalo disappeared. There was very few, the Hudson Bay Company had come in, all the Fort Benton intruders that were sucking off of our people and our land, and so the buffalo were leaving us, and this Akbaradia must have brought this Crow family, and it was in our territory. They had been chasing these two lone buffalo, none around, but they had been chasing it because their family was starving to death. And so they had been chasing it. They were getting weak, they were their children, and they had their wives, and they were chasing these two buffalo. So there's these Blackfeets that came up on, they themselves were, because we were based upon our grocery store was Buffalo, Eni. And they had kind of come over this hill. They didn't know these crows were chasing those buffalo, so these Blackfeet just expertly, killed them. And they had just the buffalo were laying there on the ground, and those crows came over the hill. They came over the hill, and they talked in sign language. Leroy Skunk Cap said. So they talked in sign language, and the crows told them, "We've been chasing those buffalo for a very long time." And the Blackfeet said, "Well, we killed them." And rather than, tribe on tribe, lateral kindness rather than lateral violence. They were both hungry, and they had women and children with them, and they were hungry. So they aligned with each other. They allied with each other, and they said, "Well, we'll help you butcher them. Let's sit down and eat, and then we'll split the meat." So that was the compromise, and that's what in 2026, as tribes and First Nations, we need to help each other. We need to, if you have extra, give it. I think right now one of my nephews, he's having a holy smoke because his mom has cancer, and he's having a holy smoke, and he made me cry because he was calling me, and I was, sometimes when you're away and you're traveling, and there's 4 hours time difference, and he was trying to get hold of me, so I was like bracing myself. I thought it was not something good, but he was just trying. He said, "Oh, Auntie," he said, "I've never done a holy smoke. It's an all-night ceremony." And he said, I have a list here of what I'm asking." And I go, "Well, get your list. Come on, get your list." I can wait. I'm patient. I'm here with my smudge. I smudge and I'm calling you. And so he's looking down his list, and it was just cute. He said, "Auntie, can you bring a roast?" And I'm laughing now, but I was getting ready for tears because he said, a whole bunch of people from, Sixikai, Kainai, Abatsapikani, and Amskapi Pikani, and then they're all coming to this holy smoke, and we call it the John Murray Building. It's in Browning on the 27th, eh? Jeez, just got invited. The whole world will come now. Invited anyway, but you're welcome to pray starting this moment, since I shared that with you. You're welcome to come to, because so then I said, "Oh, that's good. I'm really proud of you. Do you want beef?" He said beef is okay, because do you want elk? Do you want a buffalo? Because you have to be specific. What kind of roast? Not a McDonald's. McDonald's don't even have a roast. Could you see going through the drive-thru? Can I get a roast not to feed a bunch of Indians? Could I get a roast? It's my spouse's birthday. We need a roast at drive-thru McDonald's. Go through drive-thru McDonald's, and could I get some Navajo fry bread? Big old fry bread. Perfectly fluffy. Could I get some tortillas? Going through the McDonald's drive-thru. Anyway, so So here's so anyway, the Leroy Skunk Cap story. They sat down, and when they were butchering those crow, and we do the same. That Saputsis, they took the long gut, that real long gut, and they washed it out in the water, because that's how you wash out all the poop, eh? You wash out you clean the tripe, and you wash it in the running water. That was I guess our plumbing system was the running water, Big Badger, just like this one right here is off the Triple Divide. It goes into the Hudson in Canada. It goes into the Missouri where Standing Rock is. It goes down to tributaries to the Pacific over there. So they washed that long gut, these crows, and then they took that long gut and they went and took the back strap of that buffalo, because that's the tender, that's the tender, juicy meat of most animals, is that backstrap. So they took that backstrap and they kind of diced it up and they stuffed it in that long gut. And when they stuffed it in the long gut, at each of the ends, so it's almost like a sausage. At each of the ends of that gut, they tied it off with some sinew, on both sides. And then they had a fire going. And so those crows took that long gut, if you can imagine it, and they just roasted it over the fire. They just roasted it really slow until the meat inside the long gut was cooked. And then when they thought it was done, they took it off and they sliced it up. Kind of like how you'd slice a big old roll of bologna. That's big hunks of, because that's Res eat bologna. We eat bologna and we smash potatoes on our potato chips on top of the bologna, and we put it between some bread. We're trying to get our Indians to eat healthier, maybe some whole grain instead of white Wonder Bread. But we're still eating white Wonder Bread because it's cheaper. A lot of our people don't have money. Some do, anyway, but so they roasted it, they sliced it up. And those Scapi Picani, the Leroy Skunk Cap, he said they ate it and the meat was so tender. The meat was just succulent, and they just enjoyed it. And so they enjoyed the meal. They talked in sign language because they didn't know how to talk Blackfoot, and we didn't know how to talk Crow, vice versa. So they communicated. And that's what tribes need today, is communication between each other. There's 575 tribes, those watching. And if you're an ally, help us communicate and help each other. If you got skills for mental health, help us. If you got skills for building houses, we need housing. If you got skills of plant medicine, help us. Not you pharmaceuticals, just teasing, trying to, that one time Wilbur Fish said we had echinacea, and they showed all these white people, and they just came and depleted it all. They came and raped the land and took all the echinacea. Anyway, don't do it like that, because that greed. And they can't help, but that's how they're raised, just to be greedy sometimes. But so the crows, they went their way, and then from now on, that's where the term crow gut came from. Because then on Blackfeet, when they butchered a buffalo, they take that long gut. I seen my mom, the buffalo that we butchered, sometimes she'll take the guts and she'll stuff it with peppermint and roast it, or she'll put fat in there. And that's one of the things we always ate, the fat. It fortified us, in our mind, body, and spirit. It fortified us. And so that's a story of long gut. But I wanted to share just a couple things with you. As I was coming home, I didn't know any news. I didn't know that there was rains in Hawaii. I didn't know that there was potential cyclone. I didn't know all that stuff till I got home. And so think about that. Think about now with our earth. Our earth, let's see, big winds coming up. See that wind? You can see the wind, how the way I tell weather is I see how the wind is making the water. So I'm going to see if I can just have a seat over here and finish visiting with you. Or I should just say, this is where I live, 31 years, and it's my happy place. I love to come home to this happy place. But as I sit down, I was just out. I went for a walk, and speaking of, I guess I'm talking about buffalo because in my freezer sometimes I was sharing, we're doing a training online, Zoom. It's called Being an Ally in Indian Country. And so last night, it was such a beautiful day. We have, oh God, all different, 40 different nations, different tribes. And some are, their tribe is Irish. Some of their tribes are Swedish. Some of their tribes are British. And I'm just saying that because when you begin to work with other people, we should look at their history too. We've learned, one of their Jewish history. Gosh, we have a lot in common with Jewish people and their Holocaust. They didn't call wiping us out, the hundreds of millions. They didn't call it a Holocaust, although it was. But you could tell by the museums in D.C., they have an African American museum to tell slavery and the Holocaust of the African American. But for the Indians, they always want to romanticize us, and so they have a museum. So it's just where you can go eat some Indian food, and it's stereotypical in some parts. The last time, I don't go there anymore. I don't even go to D.C. anymore. There's no reason. Why in the hell would anyone want to go to Washington, D.C.? Oh, I know, to lobby. Go do it, because some of us real Indians, we ain't even going there. Where they used to call it Stand by the Fort Indians, and that's rough. That's kind of a lateral, not a good term. But they were all the Indians who would learn all the policies and the procedures, and they would stand by the fort. And they called them an apple because they were red on the outside and white on the inside. The same they call coconuts, brown on the inside, red on the inside. A banana, Asian Pacific Islanders, yellow on the outside but white on the inside. On and on. So the Stand by the Fort Indians still is, and you can see them because they're talking heads, eh? So be careful, and don't. Listen to the authentic, real Indians that are becoming real Indians. They'll speak in their language. They'll align with you if they can, to not stereotype them. They'll align with you in a really good way to look at how you can help each other. So so that Leroy Skunk Cap, that story, Leroy, I always liked, he was like one of these old time Indians. And when you meet an old time Indian, give him some tobacco. We were talking about, that tobacco, pastaskan, is the greatest offering that you can give. Give them tobacco when you ask a question. And I was, visiting with someone in our training yesterday because she was very truthful and said she worked for the pharmaceutical companies, and she was taking the training because they wanted to make a appropriate booklet for neuropathogenic phenomena of Indians who, their feet don't have good circulation, so they have a numbness. And I thought that was great because she signed up. But then later on, when I started telling my family, and they go, was she culturally appropriating? Do they just come and take enough of your Indian stuff? And I don't know the answer to that. I hope not. So I prayed for her last night, and again I pray for her today, that she came and what were her intentions. And that's what you have to begin to ask when you have these do-gooders that come to your reserve, to your village, to your urban area, or to your res. And they're do-gooders. You know, they want to help you heal. They want to help you get economically uplifted, or whatever they're going to help you with, so you don't have a big Indian nose. I got a big Indian nose. It's a bullshit Indian nose. I love my nose. I don't want a little nose. Help. But we do need some help with cancer. Everybody's getting cancer. We do need some help with fentanyl overdose. Jeez, everybody just overdosing. So back to this Leroy Skunk Cap. With what I loved about him while he was alive, and Leroy, Buksabut, you can still call them. You can't see them. Kita Piwal, you can't see them. But call your ancestors. Leroy Skunk Cap, Buksabut. Leroy Skunk Cap, Buksabut. Please help our people to treat horses good, to know, to take care of horse medicine, to take care of our buffalo. Leroy, you know those things. And Leroy, our Skunk Cap, our elder, I always liked when there was some doings, and that's what we call it, doings. There was these doings. I remember this doing in Great Falls, Montana, and it was in a theater where we were first learning about Indian relay. They invited all these allies and these people to learn about Indian relay. And this is, sheesh, maybe the year 2000. It was something like that. And I remember Carol Murray was there, and Ottawa Bisaki. I think John was there too. But there was a lot of us, and Leroy was sitting there. And it's like I saw that opportunity. He had a seat next to him. And then when you see elders, take a seat next to them. Offer to get, some coffee, some tea. Get a plate for them. Visit with them before you have the ask. That's, I loved Jolene on our training today. They said, sometimes you Indians take so long to start. First you got to pray, then you got to recognize people, then you have to have all this honoring and all this ceremony. You just don't start right on time. Start late, they start looking at their half past the hair, half past. You don't start right on time. And so when Indians don't start right on time, they're just being Indian. They're talking to their elders. They're asking their elders to pray. They're asking their elders to tell. Sometimes they need to tell a story before they pray. So you let them tell a story, just like I really appreciate you listening to my stories on Wellness Wednesday. Like, woohoo! Because all you're going to get from me, because I'm just an Indian, you're just going to get stories from me. This is my new necklace. Check out this necklace. Andrea Fox, and then I started crying, but they honored me for the work that I had done with bringing artists across Canada to helping with their healing. And they gave me a big old Chief Joseph blanket, Pendleton, and they gave me some really but check this out. It looks like a blanket. So I cherish it, and I hung it with my pipes these past couple of days. And as it was hanging with the pipes today when I was getting ready, because we start our Zoom at 9 Pacific time, and that's 10 Mountain time. And so I was just, I wanted to wear Healing the Spirit Worldwide. This is the 8th annual Healing Our Spirit Worldwide, the 8th annual gathering. And right now they had the 9th annual gathering, and now they're trying to plan for the next one. But because of the state of, because there's war going on, and because of some president here that you can't do jack shit with that president. Anyway, I don't want to go there. The Healing the Spirit Worldwide, I think, is going to happen in 2027. Our executive director's on the board, so they're planning it. But this honoring, there was so much in Calgary at the Westin. There was, oh my God, tables of artists. There was vendors. There was even an opera singer. That was her skill. There were painters. There were beaders. Ooh, and there was a fashion show. Native Diva. Oh, she had such incredible contemporary fashion. And she had all of these beautiful statuesque Native girls and First Nations wearing her fashion and her jewelry. And that was like a real highlight for everyone. And then they had some famous movie stars. And so, I just, when famous people come to your place, you better vet them. Vet them. Because just think about what Buffy St. Marie did. Buffy St. Marie came to all of our communities pretending to be Native. And of course she sings well. Of course she is talented. But she pulled the wool over a lot of people. Those pretend Indians can pull the wool over your eye. So I just say, in Canada, there's high alerts more than, and then in America too. We got our Jackie Keelers. But when someone famous comes to your community, don't let that fame, cloud who they really are. Find out, vet who they really are. And vetting means ask about them. Who are they married to? How have they treated other natives the last 20, 10, 30 years? Have they come and try to be native because of money, the dollar? And, they call that cultural appropriation, where they're just sucking off. They're learning to sing like you, look like you. And anyway, I'm selling big noses. They start at 200. Hey, I'm selling big noses. If you want to be an Indian, I'll sell you a big nose. I'll sell you something so you can be native. Anyway. Oh, that's just so crazy. So I wanted to share that, because what's happening. So I'm going to flip the switch, because it's happening in Montana. And if you're near Montana, there's so much happening. Our Two Spirit communities doing a big event March 21st, and March 20th is the equinox. I think it's early in the morning. The equinox and the solstice, like June 20th, and then September 22nd. And then December 21st, we have this cycle, and that's the time that Indians pay attention to. That's the time that kind of regulates us. And I decided to be out here because I haven't heard thunder, but as soon as we hear thunder, that's like the kickoff of all of our beaver bundles get opened, all of our ceremonies. So we're kind of in March Madness. Like we have hockey in Canada, we have basketball in the United States, but there's like this seasonal. We have wrestling, we have all of this. But today, and this is, I'm going to flip the switch about the positive, productive, and proactive stuff that's happening in Indian country. And I just reported it on a lot of the Facebook pages I could, put it on Instagram. That wind. Sabu. Wind spirit. Thank you. It lets you let go of everything with that wind spirit. The wind takes it, and so it's let God, let go. And and that's really important for it's really important for wellness, that you have your ceremonies, that you have your rituals of letting go. We were at our Native Wellness Institute training. Jillian had us go out and pick up a leaf or pick up something and whisper to it, what we needed to let go. people ran outside and they were whispering, they were letting go of all their exes. That first ex, that second ex, that third ex, they were letting them go. But it's hard to let go when you had children with them. So let's just talk about that for a moment. How do you, in wellness, when you made a baby with someone and you want to make sure that baby grows up in wellness? Well, this is your badass auntie. The first thing you got to do is quit drugs and alcohol. Clean and sober. And allies, just your allies, if you come to our community and you still drink, you're going to have a rough time. So quit drinking if you really want to be an ally, because we don't trust people who still drink. But anyhow, this when we're healing, I was thinking part of, all adults in the world are responsible for all children. And if you believe every child matters, then for us, all Indian babies, all, toddlers, 2-month-old, 4-month-old. And it just makes me think about one of the happiest things that we did in Hawaii is I was with my friend, and the twins, she's having twins, and they know one is a boy and one is a girl. I just saw she was taking the little dress that was going to be on her granddaughter when she comes, and she was rocking it, she was holding it, and then she passed it to me and I was cuddling it, and the baby's not even in it yet, but we were just having fun. We were going, oh, kiss to polka. We were just kissing it up. We were just holding it. And sometimes that's what we have to do with all children. And I'll say, under 18, and some people, they defined youth under 25. April McGill and San Francisco, that's what their program is for. All children up to 24. But they concentrate on 11 years old to 24. So here's my friend, Sandra Many Feathers, and my other niece, Hannah, from Sixikai. Lucy is her mom. They just ran all over Hawaii and bought gifts for the celebration of when those twins are born. Like, la, 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 la. And then they had there was like these little bitty infant Crocs. They look like Crocs, that you'd wear on the sandy beach. Not too much sand right here, just some big old chunks of ice. but in the summer there is sand over there. But it was just that. If you want to be an ally, make sure that there's safety for the babies being born. Make sure that there's safety for the 1 and the 2-month-old, that they're safe, that there's good, smells around them, that there's good laughter, there's good eating, and they sing to them, the lullabies, I always said, the lullaby that always got my daughter, her crow grandma used to sing to her. And that lullaby was, Icaboola, Icaboola, hey ha, Icaboola. And then she would take her fingers and close my daughter Amanda's eyes, and she'd go to sleep. So even as when she was older, before she went off to college, I used to sing Icaboola to her. So think about that, even native lullabies. Singing the native lullabies to not only the children, but sing them to yourself. Sometimes, when I want to go to, last night I went to sleep quick because I had hiked around early. I hiked around this morning, so I know I'm going to sleep good today. When you hike around, they're saying that movement, but sing the lullaby to yourself. We were at Wind River, and she's Crow, and she's with Kelly Webb. Oh, Dorcas. she was singing crow lullabies, and they have a lot of crow Apsalaga lullabies. There's a lot of, but you can make your own. Just say the baby's name. Because I was thinking about Terrence Laframboy and his wife. They tried to have a baby a long time, and they finally had a baby, and they named it Namski. Namski for the lizard on the rawhide in the beaver bundle. But okay, so say the baby's name is Namski. Or one of my other nephews, they just had a baby and they named him Sidapa and Brockett. Say that, here's Namski and Sinapa in front of you. Just make your own, just say, Kitsikako mim Namski, Kitsikako mim Sinapa, Kitsikako mim, all the days of your life. May you always be proud, may you always be excited, may you always be curious, all the days of your life. Kitsikako mim Namnansky, Kitsikako mim Sinapa. And I just, those, when you sing to yourself and you sing to your children and you sing with your family, those are, what it does, it's a part of our brain, is it brings solace to our heart, and it brings healing to us, and it brings healing all around us, and it goes up to the stars and it brings healing. So, sing to the Gakadoksi koan. Gakadoksi koan. That means star people. No Gyaiki Moket, pity me. No gospel Moket, Gakadoksi koan. So we can all sing. I'm not a singer, but I'm just, that part of our brain, when we sing, it goes out and it brings energy to all the world, up to the Ibisuatsis, the morning star, the mistaken star, the Natusi, to the moon, to all of the matriarchs. You can sing, and I guess I just gave myself permission, because sometimes I'm not going to say that anymore, because I can sing. Ooh, I can get down with the Motown in the 70s. Karen Pheasant, oh man, she had Singing in the Rain with her keynote speech, and then she went behind the curtain and put on her jingle dress, and then she started dancing with her jingle dress, and she was like dancing, singing in the rain. But then Monty Wolfchild came out and was drumming, and Monty Wolfchild and Black Otter, they started singing, and Karen Pheasant, woohoo! And they turned we all wanted to get up and start jingle dress dancing. And that's what happened. It brought the whole energy to the room, and all the artists, as she talked. And she talked about how she began with nothing, and how she believed with her beadwork and with her rolling the jingles, and the healing power of those jingles when you roll them yourself and you make your own jingle dress outfit. So you think, powwow, if you look at all the intricate things that the dancer does, with their bustle, with their beadwork. I was thinking about Rodney First Strike and Justin Goggles, my other nephew. If anyone knows where he's at, tell him he better call his auntie, because I think of how extraordinarily all the colors of their outfit when they grass dance, and their chicken dance outfit, all the colors are so beautiful. So, there's a lot of expression of healing. And I guess, Native Wildness, no matter what the trauma is, the gossip or whatever you're hearing the bad news. I just heard one of my childhood playmates, Kathy Talk, passed. And I'll have to ask Mom, because her parents were named Mucks and Bugs. Mucks and Bugs. And Kathy Talk worked, more than 40 years at our Indian Health Service hospital. And she decided to cross over. And I just found that out. And so I haven't, in my grief, I haven't cried about it yet, but the last time I saw her, we were just joking because that's how sisterhood is. Um, I told her, well, if you die first, could you come back and pull my hair? And if I die first, I'll come back and I'll pull your hair. We were just, because we were getting older, we just, would laugh with each other and have a good time about it and not fear death. And I said something when Andrea and all of Mary Fox and Christina Fox, they were our matriarch grandmas, and they were there helping with kind of facilitate all the artists and stuff. And when they gave me that award, I was so overwhelmed. I started to cry, and I had to share my second Blackfoot name and how I got it, Mokoyo Sukoyi, and that it'll almost be 2017, so I've only had it 9 years. When you first get your Indian name, you have to grow into it, and I can really see it now because they were as they were giving me the award, all I could think of was my spirit, Mokoyo, the wolf, and asking that wolf for me to share the words. So I shared, one of the things I shared with them is that it translates Mokoyo Sukoyi, so wolf trail. It means wolf trail or medicine trail. And I could see that that's like a baby. It's what Roger and Charlene, when they named me, I'm growing into it. And so that's part of, just growing into it. When you leave this physical body, it's not a bad thing, so don't fear it. It's just another ceremony. I think Lakota, Nakota, Dakota in their language, all the ceremonies are just preparing you to die. So your last ceremony, when you go out of this physical body and you go over the Milky Way, and it's usually about 4 days. And I always have humor with it because Cecilia Fire Thunder, she has the 4 dresses that she's going to wear each day. She wants to wear a different dress. Aretha Franklin did that too. They had each of the 4 days as they were crossing over, they wanted a different, real nice Indian dress to wear going over the Milky Way. And then for us, they call it the Sand Hills. We go to the Sand Hills. And some of you might travel over there and come back, travel over, come back. Those are called near-death experiences. But you travel over there, and some of the Heart Butte people, we called it Big Sandy, when you travel over. And so don't be afraid of it. It's a good ceremony. And it just helps you, accept that there is death. And when you have, like with Kathy Talk, I put out, so the 4 days I found out, so I've been putting out tobacco. Went and put some in the water over there. And as you put the tobacco in the water, or you can put it in the ground. I was chewing on I had some really good buffalo meat, and it had lots of fat. That was what I took out of the freezer last night, and I let it thaw out. And I like to bake buffalo meat. So I baked the buffalo, and there was a lot of that buffalo, that tallow, as I was chewing it. So when I went and put the tobacco, the pastas gone, and you put some meat offerings, that's what you need to do when you go out on the land. It's put an offering to your ancestors, and they can help us and we can help them. Ask them for what you need. So I was chewing on that buffalo fat, and oh God, it tastes good. But there was it's kind of like a sinewy fat, and so I thought, man, this is what my ancestors. So you always give your ancestors what you love to eat, buffalo fat, And so I'm just walking down by the water because I'll just show you where I live. Look at this ice. There's ice, and look at my old shovel that the wind picked up. I'm not going to go in and get it because You don't want to get hypothermia. See my shovel? But look at how clear the water is. We're in the shadow. We're in the pure glacier water. And then you go up to the blue sky, come all the way across. That's Livermore. That's Highway 89. But look at all this fresh water. And that's so when they're crossing over those 4 days, make sure you have, a lot of, some of our Catholic relatives, they have 4-day wakes. Canada, sometimes they have an evening wake and then they bury them in the morning. So, because they have different colonizers. It's about who colonized you. And then, some people, they want to have it quickly. Like I remember the first requests until we found out all of what the law was. My mom was saying, if I die in the morning, I want to be in the ground by that evening. And I heard some of my other relatives, but you can't do that. Well, you can put them up, like I could put them up in that tree, eh? Maybe that's where instead of being buried, because we used to put them up in the tree with all their goods, their stuff, to take to the other side to cross over to Big Sandy. You can, and you can have your own ceremony, but you need to tell your relatives. And please tell your relatives who gets what. Because I was just listening to my friend Timothy this morning. He said him and his siblings don't talk anymore because they fought over who was the executor of the estate when their father passed. Their mother passed first, but the father, and I was thinking about some of my other relatives that they don't talk to their siblings anymore because there was a fight over who got what. So, spell that out clearly. Help it so that it doesn't cost, because in the grief, what it does is it causes lateral violence among the siblings about who gets what. So stop that. Knock it off. Knock it off. Say who gets what. Even who gets your truck, who gets your dance dresses. I like Gail Strikes with the Gun when, that's when I found out she gave all her dresses to her niece Amber Strikes with the Gun. And you give them so that's sometimes that people get alarmed when elders start giving things away, because they're getting ready to leave. They're telling you they're getting ready to leave. They're giving stuff away. They don't need it, because guess what? When we cross over, we can't take any of that stuff with us. All we leave is a legacy. And so as we're kind of winding down, think about what legacy are you leaving? What legacy? So make it a good legacy. Ooh, I just heard ice crash. That's kind of cool. I don't know if you could hear that. The ice crash. That's kind of cool. But what is the legacy? And maybe we'll continue this on into next Wednesday. I'm heading over to Fort Belknap. I'm working with the Fort Belknap Head Start on Monday. Then I'm doing a keynote about gambling at Tulalip on the 27th. And then I'm going over to Reno and I'm doing another keynote on gambling, because that is a big healing issue. If you're still in trauma, it can manifest itself in gambling addiction. So, do you want your legacy to be gambling? I mean, if you're a real good stick game player, hand game player, hand game songs, yeah, maybe. That's a good legacy. Because we used to play hand game or stick game to settle disputes. So there was a war. Ganaxtimata, Crazy Dogs, and the veterans, they still, Heart Butte, come and see that. Ooh, that one can get kind of heavy duty because it's all Crazy Dogs on one side and all the veterans on one side. I used to stand in the middle because I didn't want to take sides or have allegiance and secretly bet. Secretly bet, because I have like $20,000 on one game, hand game. But this legacy. So what is your legacy when you cross over? So, think about it. Write your own eulogy. I love that my Uncle Gerald, old voice, Cooper, wrote his own eulogy. he said, forgive quickly, love fiercely, forgive quickly. He said, kiss slowly. When you kiss people, kiss them slowly. He said, there isn't anything, don't stay in those unhappy places. Just do happy things. And he wrote this as he was dying. He said, our whole reason we live is to experience, it's our birthright to thrive and to live joy. So when you're planning your legacy, or you're doing the things, just bring joy, bring happiness, heal. Don't be telling the trauma story over and over and over. Do some healing, because you'll know when you tell the story and you don't need to cry that you've done the healing. Even I was thinking about losing Ocon iron pipe. I was visiting with a friend, because when I come home, I said, now I went over and put some tobacco. He's buried right back there, Ocon iron pipe. And Abby Bullshoe is buried. I put some tobacco, and I started, all the Amy Dawes are buried there, and I said, thank you. Thank you for being my spirit dog all those years, and thank you for everything you taught me. And you don't need to cry. I'm not crying anymore. That doesn't mean tomorrow I might be boo-hooing, but right now, a good way is put that tobacco down and say, thank you for what you've taught me. Thank you what you've given me. I say thank you every morning. I say thank you for this water. Thank you for the snow. Thank you for all these cottonwoods. Thank you for the ling, poor man's lobster, that you can fish in this lake. Thank you for the grass. Thank you for the clean air. Thank you that I have a house with a new roof. Swift Current and Dave Kennedy put a new roof on my house. Thank you for that I have a good running vehicle. Thank you that I have this buffalo meat with a bunch of fat. I swear, because I'm going to go in and have a piece, and I got to get back on Zoom, because we have all these people who are, we're all having a healing discussion on decolonized allies. Ones that don't step in front of you, but that support you, ones that learn your history. So I got to go back inside, and I just wanted to bring you down, because it's really good to take your tobacco and to put it into the water. And Native Wellness Institute, where Casey and Nicholson and Aurora Mamea just finished a Gona at Wichita and affiliated tribes. And Lori Newbreast and Jean Tagabon have 6 tables of elders. They're in Southern Cal right now. And they had cultural night last night. And then Jean and Lori, they just said there's so much in these elders healing. So you can request the elders retreat from NWI. That's our team. And Jillian Joseph and Wade McGee. I think Debbie's in the background. And Shailene and I are doing, being an ally in Indian country. So I'm going to log back on and log off here. And I just want to say, Kitsikako, Mim. I really appreciate you listening to. We're here every Wellness Wednesday. Mountain Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, noon. So last week I was in Hawaii and I was leaning over the banister. So maybe I'm in Montana and I'll lean over the banister. So, Kitakito Matsuno. We'll see you next Wednesday.